Hey, and welcome to map 18 of Doom 2, The Courtyard. So we're going to shoot this here, one of the few times in Doom 2 we actually get to use that mechanic. As you can see from this opening area, we have a lot of enemies facing us down straight away in this level, so we may as well use the shotgun here to get rid of them, because we don't really want them following us into the rest of the level. So the Courtyard is a very interesting level in that it has a central concept that I think is pretty fun, in that there's a bunch of enemies who will wander into the central courtyard. If you pistol start this level like I've just done here, it's going to be very difficult for you, and you have to kind of make your way through all the different chambers to get all the good weapons. If you bring in your own weapons, this level can take about a minute to complete. So depending on how you're playing, this level is going to be either quite fun or quite, brisk. As you can see here, there's a bunch of pinkies trying to come at us here. We're playing on the beta version of this level, and the big giveaway that we're doing that is the floor texture in the courtyard. So it's more of like a rock / marble sort of texture, but in the final Doom 2 release it becomes grass. So as you can see, we've been trapped in this little side pocket here. There's a bunch of pinkies, there's a bunch of shotgunners in here that we have to take care of. Luckily the game's given us a berserk pack, so when I start running out of ammo with the shotgun here, I will just start making use of that. But yeah, this level is one of those levels where you can bullet through it very quickly, or you can take the time to go and explore all the secrets and get all the goodies. This is, as you can see, we can't go back there. This maze isn't particularly complex. It's fairly easy to make your way around it. As you can see, the switch here basically takes us towards the exit direction, but if you kind of wander around, there's a bunch of things that will be worth grabbing. We're gonna punch out all these shotgunners here. No, we're not. We're gonna use the shotgun. But you can see this level loves its spectres, and you can hear a lot of spectres. They're in the main courtyard area, but there's so many of them we can actually hear them across the map here, which is a good sign of how many enemies you have to face down on this one. So I have to admit, I've kind of forgotten how you get up to that ledge there. We can't go back because this is raised up. We can come back later on. It is possible to go back in if you really want to. We'll click that switch there, and that brings down the door that was trapping us. We've got to be very careful here because there's so many enemies out in the courtyard that if we let them all come in here, they will probably kill us. This is one of those levels where it's very easy to get overwhelmed if you're not careful. So you can see, this is where all those pinkies were that we could hear. They've all run into this room here, which I think has the plasma rifle in it. This is another one of those little trap rooms that the developers have put in here. You can see there's a lot of active enemies in there, so that's something that we're going to have to think about. Luckily this level isn't too stingy with the health and ammo, because there's all kinds of weapons on this level. We just need to go and get them, which is fair. Normally I don't bother doing this. Normally I just grab the yellow key, grab the blue key, and then I'm out of here. Oh wow. Oh wow, that's a horrible trap. Right, okay, we gotta move here. Yeah, so that was a nasty trap there because they all pinned me in pretty quickly there, and I could have easily been taken down. I do not have that much health. So gonna grab some health. So that's only part of the onslaught. Once we go over this side, more enemies are going to flood out. That's the thing with this level. There's a whole bunch of enemies just kind of tucked away in the corners. Ah, so that's a Baron of Hell. Interestingly, this enemy changes quite a lot between all the versions. Because in the Game Boy Advance version, it's a Mancubus. And I think it's I don't know what it is in the PS1 version, but I don't think it's a Baron of Hell. Because there aren't any Barons on this level. Be interesting to see if it ends up being a Hell Knight. But yes, this is the beta version of this level, and kind of surprisingly, this is pretty much par with the final version of a level, other than the odd little bit here and there. It's always interesting to see how these levels are kind of at this point, because these betas are from like 5 months before the release of Doom 2, so this is kind of where they're entering the crunch period to finish the game. And this level looks pretty nice, but there are other levels that are completely different, and as we move through the levels moving forward, you're actually going to start seeing huge differences in the levels, which I'm kind of looking forward to showing off. So if you come in here, there's a BFG. I'm going to instantly use it just to take these two down. Makes my life a lot easier. You know you're having a good time when you're down to pistol. I will very much help myself to the rocket launcher here. Don't know why there's two invisibilities there, that's kind of weird. Again, this is another little trap. If you go in there and you don't expect that, you can actually lose quite a lot of that health you just gained. So that's why I immediately back out of that room, because I'm not in the business of losing that much health. So we're going to head inside here. This is where the blue key is. Now what's interesting on this level is that they try to hide the blue key among all these health bonuses down here, which I don't think they actually do in any other level. It's kind of an interesting idea. So you can see we're running around collecting all these, and there's the blue key, kind of tucked behind this pillar and sort of hidden among the health bonuses. I always like collecting the health bonuses here. So there's a switch on the back of one of these pillars. I think we ran past it a few times. But this is how you get out of this room. As you can probably tell, this isn't a super long level. It's just with the number of enemies who come at you, if you let them all sort of appear at once, like I think the developers try to encourage, then you end up with a big onslaught, which is pretty fun. Let's go in here quickly, because I didn't look through all the maze. See, there's some guys still alive in here. I think there's a chain gun in here somewhere, if I remember rightly. So you can see we missed quite a few shotgunners on the way through here. This is that pillar that closed behind us. I think the chain gun's round here. I think we hit the switch for it and then we ran off from it. You can see on the map there. There it is. So yeah, this is how you get the chain gun on this level. And as you can see at the end there isn't actually a pool of water that you walk into like you normally would. It's actually a switch. So that's another thing that changed. But overall, the courtyard is a very interesting level. There's not many other levels like it in Doom 2, where you kind of have to deal with so many enemies at once. That's one of the interesting things about Doom 2, is that some of the levels have such an increased monster count, and it's something that Doom 1 didn't really kind of tackle that well. So it's nice to see the idea explored a bit more thoroughly here. I don't think it's a super great level, but I think it's a fun one, and if you enter it with the right, mindsets, it can be really fun. Now, I'm going to quickly dash through the Game Boy Advance version here, and there is a reason for this. So, as you can see, the performance on this level with the Game Boy Advance version is not great. The large number of enemies on screen here is not good for the Game Boy Advance's health. Oh God, please don't die here. So the thing with the Game Boy Advance version of this game is that as long as you kind of accept that it's very limited by the hardware it's on, it's not actually that bad. But you have to remember that back in the day, this was the first handheld attempt at Doom 2, so a lot of compromises had to be made to kind of make that happen. And like the disappearing bodies on the floor, that's one aspect. But another aspect is this kind of thing. So gone is the lovely clear courtyard. Instead, we are now greeted by these massive structures, and part of the reason that they've done this is because it actually reduces the load on the CPU, because this is such a big area. If you didn't have those there, the whole area would be loading in at once, and the Game Boy Advance just can't handle that. So I'm guessing that the decision was just made to dump these down in the middle here. This level's actually a lot easier on Game Boy Advance, because a lot of the enemies won't actually run towards you even if you're in front of them, because if you're at such a distance, the enemies don't activate in this version. It's an interesting little quirk. But as I said, I'm not going through all the secrets on this one because it's effectively the same as the PC release version. What I do want to just show you is just how messy the performance can get. Even with just a few enemies on screen and a fairly big room like this, the performance just does not like the level here. But it is interesting that they left this level in and unaltered pretty much, apart from this massive structure in the middle here. So they wanted people to get the Doom 2 experience, and there's that Mancubus we were talking about earlier on. It's interesting how they came to the conclusions on this. But yes, you can see all the monsters are here and present and correct. If you want to have that big massive fight, you can do, but I'm just literally wanted to show you that one massive difference. And there's the pool of water that we talked about. Again, it's not the best way to play Doom 2, if we're being honest, but it was the first portable version of Doom 2, and we have to take in mind that the Game Boy Advance was not designed for games like Doom 2. So it is an accomplishment, even if looking back it's a bit rough. So this is the PS1 version of this level, and you can see that the opening room has a slightly different aesthetic to it. But overall, this level is pretty faithful to the PC release of the game here. Firstly, we need to get rid of all these imps again. There is an issue with this level, and I'm going to show you it when we get to it in a bit. But for now, let's just kind of continue on as normal. So we're going to take care of all these spectres here. It's actually very possible on this version as well to be quick and get through this level if you really don't fancy battling your way through it. I do like collecting these bonuses on the PS1 version just because they count as 2, so you're effectively getting double the goodness. So we're going to pick up the super shotgun here. So what's interesting, yeah, it's 2 Hell Knights in the middle there, so that's 3 different enemies in that little square in the middle across the 3 versions. It is interesting to me that this level even made the cut for the PS1 version, just because normally with the PS1 Doom levels, they tend to avoid big scale levels like this. A lot of the levels that don't make the cut are just massive rooms, like Industrial Zone for example didn't make the cut because I suspect it's just so massive. And Downtown is another one, so I'm kind of surprised this one made the cut. As you can see here, I've used the invulnerability to fight my way through this room, because this room can get very chaotic if you let it. And as you can see, there's a bunch of enemies trying to make their way in there, so it's a good idea to, you know, stop that from happening. But I do want to sort of talk about one limitation of the PS1 version, and I'm going to end this video by showing you it. So the problem with the BFG in this game is that if there's too many enemies on screen and the game gets overloaded with like what you're trying to do, it will completely crash the game on you. And we saw this for the first time on Suburbs, but I wanted to show it here because I think it's kind of important that when talking about the PS1 version of the game here, we discuss how this happens. So it's very disappointing that it happens, but I understand limitations of the game. They didn't want to nerf the BFG. It's a shame, but it kind of shows the limitations of the PlayStation 1 and quite how hard it was to get the game to fully work on that console. But yeah, what's your opinion of Courtyard? Do you like the level? Do you hate the level? Do you think it's not one of the best, or do you think it's one of the better levels in Doom 2? Let me know what you think of it, and thank you very much for watching.